Vietnam War pitted North Vietnam and the Viet Cong against South Vietnam and the U.S. U.S. intervention was again predicated upon fear regarding the spread of communism. U.S. presence in Vietnam began as early as 1955 and continuously escalated until the U.S.'s withdrawal in 1973. Notably, the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution in 1964 authorized President Lyndon Baines Johnson to take all necessary measures to repel any armed attack against the forces of the United States and to prevent further aggression. Only 2 U.S. senators voted against the resolution. Later, many concluded President Johnson misled Congress into supporting the expansion of the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War marked the last time the U.S. implemented a draft. The war divided the U.S. public bitterly, with the largest anti-war protests in U.S. history occurring in 1969. President Richard M. Nixon, along with Henry Kissinger, secretly and illegally called for an invasion of Cambodia and Laos in 1970. In 1973, the U.S. agreed to a peace settlement with North Vietnam, with the withdrawal of U.S. forces occurring that same year. North Vietnam and South Vietnam continued fighting until 1975. Overall, more than 2 million Vietnamese died, along with 58,000 Americans. U.S. intervention in Korea began when North Korea invaded South Korea in the summer of 1950. The U.S. government believed the war to be a fight against the spread of communism, and the president at the time, Harry S. Truman, said that if we let Korea down, the Soviets will keep right on going and swallow up one place after another. The war ended in 1953 with an agreement that the southern and northern halves of Korea would be separated by a 2-mile-wide demilitarized zone. North and South Korea remain divided to this day. The Korean War is often called the Forgotten War in the United States, yet 5 million individuals died, the vast majority of whom were civilians. The U.S. government's stated rationale for the March 2003 invasion of Iraq involved the presence of weapons of mass destruction within Iraq. No such weapons have been found, and the legality of the war has been called into question. The conflict lasted from 2003 to 2011, and there remains a strong U.S. presence within Iraq. In 2001, the U.S. also intervened in Afghanistan as a direct result of the September 11, 2001 attacks. And according to the Costs of War project, over 6,800 American men and women in uniform have died in these wars. Over 21,000 Afghan civilians have died, and at least 133,000 Iraqi civilians have died. Since the U.S.'s founding in 1776, the U.S. has been at war for 222 out of 239 years. In 1821, the Spanish defeat in the Mexican War of Independence granted Costa Rica independence as well. Soon thereafter, Costa Rica joined the First Mexican Empire, which dissolved in 1823. And from 1823 to about 1838, Costa Rica was a part of the Federal Republic of Central America, a barely functional republic, and perhaps as a result of that, in 1838, Costa Rica declared sovereignty. Since then, Costa Rica has mostly remained peaceful, aside from 3 incidents. In 1856, they successfully fended off the curious American, William Walker, and in the late 19-teens, they were ruled by a dictatorship. Perhaps the defining event in Costa Rican military history occurred in 1948. For 44 days in the spring, the country was at civil war, with over 2,000 individuals dead in the end. The democratic José Figueres Ferrer took over power from the previous dictatorship. And in 1949, at long last, the Costa Rican Constitution banned the military. Things have remained mostly peaceful since, and the state is mainly maintained by the police force and the Coast Guard, with perhaps the occasional flare-up at the Nicaraguan border.